Good day and welcome to the news roundup for Tuesday, January 31. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, UC Russell facing possible charges for starving cattle in Kirkwine, Manchester. Communities in Westmoreland being impacted by drought conditions. JCF investigating report of rape and robbery allegedly committed by one of its members in St. Elizabeth. Child Protection and Family Services Agency reports increase in number of children addicted to pornography. Jamaica remains the fourth most corrupt state in the Caribbean. In business, the cost to produce outputs in manufacturing industry fell in December. In the region, Bahamian government airlifts diplomats from Haiti amid rapidly devolving and unstable conditions. Further overseas, embattled Republican congressman faces growing calls to resign after admitting to fabricating parts of his resume and biography. And in sports, former champions Cavalier cut Mount Pleasant's lead at the top of the Jamaica Premier League table.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. UC Russell is facing possible charges for conditions under which starving cattle at its Kirkwine, Manchester plant are being kept. Additionally, it has been given a 2-week ultimatum to remedy the situation. The discovery of the 400 heifers and calves led to the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries dispatching a team to the location last Thursday to assess the situation. An emergency meeting with high-level ministry personnel and members of the UC Russell management team along with representatives from the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, JSPCA, followed on Monday morning. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Pernell Charles Jr., says several steps have been taken.
The company has been mandated to take immediate steps to remedy the conditions under which the animals are kept. A 2-week deadline was given for UC Russell to stabilize the animals through prophylactic treatment and supportive therapy, and then to update the ministry and the JSPCA on the progress of the herd. A team from the ministry and the JSPCA will be closely monitoring the situation throughout these 2 weeks. 2, pending the stabilization period, if the monitoring team is not satisfied that adequate actions were taken to alleviate the situation on the site, the animals will be confiscated and placed into a government-monitored quarantine facility and treated with the appropriate remediation.
Minister Charles adds that the JSPCA will give further consideration to laying charges on UC Russell under the Cruelty to Animals Act. He notes that the Agro-Investment Corporation and the Jamaica Dairy Development Board will offer some assistance in the process.
Arrangements have been made through the Agro-Investment Corporation and the Jamaica Dairy Development Board to provide supplemental feeding support with fodder and nutrients. And number 5, UC Russell has committed to providing the monitoring team with a detailed medium and long-term management plan to include the necessary training support assisted by RADA and the Jamaica Dairy Development Board, so as to prevent any reoccurrence of this kind of situation in the foreseeable future.
The National Water Commission, NWC, is advising that some communities in Westmoreland will receive scheduled water supply as a result of the impact of drought conditions on its systems. It says its Logwood treatment plant in Hanover is especially impacted by the weather conditions. The NWC says subsequent to the reduced production at the Logwood facility, operations at the Whitehall pumping station is also being impacted. As part of drought mitigation efforts, the NWC says customers served by the facility are now scheduled to receive water supply on Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays and Saturdays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Service areas likely to be affected include Orange Hill, Mount Airy, Good Hope, Duck Pond, Whitehall, Negril, Westland Mountain, West End and environs. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is investigating a report of rape and robbery allegedly committed by one of its members while on duty in St. Elizabeth. The incident allegedly took place between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. on Monday in the town of Black River. The JCF says the report is being taken seriously by the Police High Command and is being treated with the utmost urgency. The matter is currently being investigated by the JCF's Inspectorate and Professional Standards Oversight Bureau, the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, CISOCA, and the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. The policeman, along with 3 other members who were on duty with him, was taken into custody. The High Command awaits the outcome of what it expects will be a speedy and thorough probe by the relevant investigative bodies. The JCF is assuring the public that such allegations are taken seriously and that it is committed to ensuring the safety and security of citizens. The Corporate Communications Unit says it will provide updates on the investigation as they become available. Director of Children and Family Programs at the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Warren Thompson, says his office has seen an increase in the number of children being addicted to pornography. Thompson says this issue worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic. He also shares his concerns about the unregulated internet space, which he says is conducive to the proliferation of child pornography. He also says many Jamaicans do not know that the production, possession, and distribution of child pornography is a criminal offense. Meanwhile, Public Education and Special Project Manager at the Office of the Children's Advocate, Latoya Minot Hall, is urging parents to better monitor their children's usage of the internet, contending that social media has a great influence on children. She notes that a 2015 report by her agency revealed that more than 50% of children engaged online with persons they have never met before. Head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary McKenzie, says motorists who do not clear their outstanding traffic tickets by Tuesday, January 31, which is today, could face arrests starting tomorrow. The government's reprieve comes to an end at midnight. The bill governing the reprieve is the New Road Traffic Act. The reprieve allows offenders to have demerits expunged if their fines are paid before the new road traffic regulations come into effect on Wednesday, February 1. The reprieve bill was passed in Parliament last week, despite the opposition in both houses pushing the government to extend the grace period to April. ACP McKenzie says the police will use their discretion in cases where motorists are able to show proof that they have been listed for court. However, he says persons who aren't able to present a confirmation email from the courts or a stamped copy of their tickets will be arrested. He argues that people had enough time to clear their tickets. Meanwhile, Information Minister Robert Morgan says persons who have secured a court day beyond January 31 may not benefit from the reprieve. Minister Morgan says the government has done enough to accommodate motorists in clearing their outstanding tickets in a reasonable time. He says persons have a responsibility to fulfill their obligations when they have infractions. Despite improving one place in Transparency International's 2022 Corruption Perception Index (CPI) country rankings, Jamaica remains the 4th most corrupt state in the Caribbean. In the 2022 CPI released by Transparency International this morning, Jamaica scored 44 on the CPI with a ranking of 69 out of 180 countries. Last year, Jamaica also recorded 44 and was ranked 70 out of 180 countries. Jamaica's score of 44 on the CPI should be assessed in a context where 0 is considered highly corrupt and 100 is very clean. Barbados leads the way in the Caribbean as the least perceived corrupt country with a CPI score of 29 and a ranking of 65 out of 180 countries. Bahamas, St. Vincent, Dominica, St. Lucia, and Grenada follow in that order, while Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Haiti are at the bottom. Executive Director of Jamaica's Integrity Commission, Greg Christie, says a CPI score of below 50 means that a country has a serious corruption problem. He states that Jamaica has been firmly fixed in this category for 21 years. According to Christie, a poor CPI signals prevalent bribery, lack of punishment for corruption, and public institutions that do not respond to citizens' needs. However, Christie points out that Jamaica's 2022 CPI score of 44 continues to stand as its best score ever. It was previously attained in 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021. A three-bedroom house was destroyed by fire this morning on Barrett Avenue, Rollington Town in East Kingston. The fire brigade says they received a call at 9 and responded immediately. However, firefighters complained that their swift response was hampered by a parked vehicle along the road. 2 fire units responded from the Rollington Town Fire Station. The fire destroyed the three-bedroom dwelling occupied by 2 persons. There were no reports of injuries, and it is not yet clear what caused the fire. In business, the cost to produce outputs in the manufacturing industry fell in the month of December. The Producer Price Index, PPI, for the sector was down 1.6%. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says the main contributor to the decline was a 9% fall in the index for the cost of fuel. The movement in the industry's index was, however, tempered by a 0.3% increase in the index for the heaviest weighted major group, food, beverages, and tobacco. The December PPI movement brought the point-to-point index for the manufacturing industry up by 11.2%. In the region, the Bahamian government announced that all its diplomats in Haiti have been airlifted to the Dominican Republic. This follows the rapidly devolving and unstable conditions in the wake of reported violent gang killings of police officers and protests. Last week, police stopped and searched the vehicle of the Bahamian country's top diplomat and seized it. Over the past few days, rebel police officers staged protests in Port-au-Prince over a slew of killings of police officers by Haitian gangs. On the international scene, embattled Republican Congressman George Santos is to step down from serving on committees in the U.S. House of Representatives. The 34-year-old has faced growing calls to resign after he admitted to fabricating parts of his resume and biography since his election in New York last year. He was assigned to serve on 2 committees despite the controversy. He informed colleagues of his decision at a closed-door meeting on Tuesday. Mr. Santos reportedly said he would not serve on committees until his name was cleared and apologized to fellow Republicans for being what he termed a distraction. He had previously billed himself as the full embodiment of the American dream, an openly gay child of Brazilian immigrants who rose to the upper echelons of Wall Street before entering the world of politics. But following his election in the November midterms, Mr. Santos's life story began to unravel after various U.S. news outlets discovered a series of falsehoods. He eventually admitted that large portions of the biography he had shared with voters were untrue. He is also facing multiple investigations over his campaign spending and financial reports. And finally, in sports news, former champions Cavalier have cut Mount Pleasant's lead at the top of the table back to 2 points in the Jamaica Premier League JPL after beating Malines United 2-0 in the first game of a doubleheader at the Ashenheim Stadium on Monday. The second game saw Arnett Gardens clipping champions Harbourview 1-0 with a 69th minute goal. And in cricket, the West Indies women ended their participation in the T20 Tri-Nation Series with India and South Africa without a win after an 8-wicket defeat in their 4th and final match, this time against India at Buffalo Park in East London. Sent to bat, the West Indians struggled for partnership once again and were restricted to 94 for 6. The Indians coasted to 95 for 2 with 37 balls to spare. And that's it for your news roundup for today. I am Abigail Smythe. See you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, yellow! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here, Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!